Form is the shape of consciousness. The Maha Tantra of creation is the energetic development of differentiation from the One, the monad, from the Source, the individualization of autonomous fractal aspects of primordial awareness, conceived in order to enjoy relationship, to explore the endless possibilities of life as prime consciousness experiences itself through reflection and resonance. These fractal emissaries of source consciousness diversify into electricity and magnetism, into the mother of form and the father of consciousness, the male and the female potencies of conception, the prime animating principles that establish the fountainhead through which creation cascades into form, composing a codifying schematic of primal data that defines the evolutionary symbiotic relationship of every form of life with the source of its creation. This tantric cohesion coordinates the cognizance of source into the soul blueprint that establishes and sustains all forms of life as sentient sensory instruments that manifest and express differentiated aspects of prime consciousness. It is this source awareness that coalesces into the unborn, eternal, sovereign soul identity that lies at the heart of the human masterpiece. These covenants of light are written in a holonomic language, fractals of which are known to us as sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is the configurative language of the elemental components that orchestrate the revelation of the source code into a visual, audible, interactive matrix of creation. The template is a model that engages the various energy systems that co-create the human hologram. Through the reconnection of the biocircuits that embrace the human energy field into the solar, galactic, and universal holography, the template's function is one of alignment with the prime animating forces of creation, instigating a recalibration with the true space-time continuum, resurrecting the complete human blueprint. The essential perspective of the template is the recognition that we are engaged in a mutant paradigm generated by the brain wave frequency feedback of a genetically altered race. We are not experiencing a holistic space-time continuum. Due to a massive invasive magnetic influence that has downgraded the resonant tantric harmonic transmitted and received between the earth and the sun, the synchronomic systems that co-create the infrastructure upon which the matrix is generated have been modified through the exclusion of various fractals of the geometric hologram that is the source code. Generating a reality in an isolated temporal zone, establishing a dualistic paradigm, functioning as an entropic system, excluded from the governing holography of unified systems. It is devoid of an evolutionary symbiosis with the full spectrum of the creation harmonic of light. This has resulted in the genetic modification of the divine blueprint of all forms of life on this earth, creating a paradigm in which all living units of circuitry collectively transmit the electromagnetic consensus that maintains a mortal realm, a deviant dominion in which conflict has subjugated the human spirit and torn the world apart. This mutant program of deterioration is leading to the systemic failure that will ultimately result in the ecocidal devastation that has been inflicted on Mars. The template identifies a solution that exists beyond the level at which the entropy of this paradigm is operating, affecting the core corruption from which self-sabotaging programs have been instigated through genetic modification. A solution that will affect the fulcrum point at which this lunacy is being generated. A solution that reflects the extent and the source of the problem. The need for a new paradigm is not fully recognized, accepted, and acted upon until the corruption of all aspects of the existing model are perceived, and the true nature, extent, and consequences of the crisis is understood. A new paradigm cannot be actualized from the intellectual abstraction of a dualistic interpretation of a better world, built on the infrastructure of the existing mutant matrix. Attempting to solve problems at the level at which they are manifesting creates a better problem rather than a solution. Peace will not be realized in a reality governed by those who sanction torture. Genocide continues to be widely perpetrated without the intervention of a so-called civilized global community that considers itself to be on an impressive path of evolution, measured by more efficient technology and more pharmaceutical cures for diseases created by pharmaceutical cures. Endless incidents of brutal demonic behavior that defies rationalization in human terms saturates the media, film, and literature. And yet, within the morphic field of collective consciousness, there are archetypes that provide points of reference for these atrocities. Archetypes that have been inserted into this reality as deified entities, glorified in the written texts and traditions of religions, philosophies, and traditions that endure in the narcotic density of this mutant paradigm in which it is easier to repeat than to think. We are witnessing a level of corruption that stems from a more abysmal source than politics or economics. This version of reality has never known a time of peace. Its history is a pattern of endless, pathological conflict that shows no signs of evolving, only improving the efficiency of the lethal technology used to implement the sanctioned murder that is war. Those that execute genocide are themselves the victims of parasitic, floating fractal gene codes within their DNA that are activating embedded commands. The true propensities of the divine human blueprint have been desecrated. the sacred, creative potency of Kundalini inherent in the human masterpiece, deranged and degraded, creating sexual turmoil and stimulating widespread addiction to violent pornography as the experiment on human genetics continues. As we awaken to the full extent of this crisis, we begin to appreciate the absolute necessity of affecting the fountainhead from which the matrix is generated. The present paradigm is collectively established by the oscillating transmissions of billions of brain wave patterns and their environmental, visual, audible feedback as a reality that validates the mutant state of the human DNA. The new paradigm cannot be interpreted and determined as an intellectually analyzed theory. It needs to be energetically consolidated through the various holonomic systems that individually comprise the human hologram and collectively manifest the morphogenetic field. The new paradigm will be co-created as a living frequency, returned to the only instrument on which we can experience the truth of our creation, our bodies. We are the technology we have been waiting for. The concept of dying and going to heaven is a program devised and reinforced by the self-serving agendas of the God impersonators behind all religions, instilled in the deepest archetypal recesses of the human psyche. This stimulus-response, obedience-reward system manipulates human consciousness and ensures pathological obedience to the sin-savior formula and passive acceptance of death and decay as the natural order. The dominant prototypes of all religions have been constructed to convince the human race from time out of memory that they reign supreme in dominion over them and wield the absolute power of life and death. Behind the facades of these apparent overlords are entities who have no symbiotic resonance with this earth, this solar system, and the light code transmitted by its sun. Heaven is this earth in her transcendent dimension, a realm that is in complete resonance with our divine blueprint and awaits our ability to reinstate its true matrix by deciphering through our endocrine systems the codes that will actualize its full revelation, the codes that are embedded in the light of our sun. The capacity to experience an alternate reality does not require a transitional state of entropy, but can be realized through conscious realignment and adjustment in brain chemistry that allows for a new resonance, a dynamic that can be registered by anyone who has taken a psychoactive substance. Connect the circuits that feed the organs in the endocrine system that manufactures the neurochemicals and transmitters and rejuvenate them to their original capacity, and you have altered your brainwave transmission. The paradigm you become conscious in is resonant with your altered brain chemistry. Through the application of the shamanic propensities of the higher physics of creation, coded into an alchemical event, the template model offers a process of resurrecting the blueprint that will re-establish the original human design prior to our genetic modification. For it is the mutant state of the gene code that forms the fountainhead through which the perverted paradigm is collectively generated. The potential for this blueprint is present in every cell of our bodies. Reactivation of this divine covenant will realize the actualization of a transcendent realm, setting humanity on a course of symbiotic evolution with the creation harmonic of light. The holography of that light code is geometric. Thus, a component within the alchemical event that activates the resurrection of the light body, our divine immortal blueprint, is sacred geometry. The template of the 13th Circuit ceremony initiates the activation and integration of a fractal aspect of the geometric soul covenant embedded in the human matrix. This covenant is our original blueprint that reveals the symbiotic relationship between a human entity and the geometric hologram of the source code, a code that is embedded in the creation harmonic of light. The design and progression of the 23 geometric fractals of the alchemically coded ceremony of activation and integration and their sonic counterparts replicates and generates resonance with explicit facets of this holonomic agreement that lies at the heart of the human masterpiece. As this agreement is awakened through frequency resonance, the 13th Circuit is reinstated. The sonic code is a linguistic pattern of sound that stimulates the primordial memory of the original human design stored in the cerebral cortex as memory. The memory of the human as a sentient, sovereign entity, able to access and translate the full spectrum of the life directive encrypted in the informational matrix of light. The language of this code affirms the original identity of the human as an emissary for the benevolence of creation, honoring its celestial seeding and its soul's lineage. In religious and esoteric teachings, the soul is immortal and far superior to the flesh and bones of the body. The same dualistic perception of separation defines heaven as somewhere above this earth and hell in the center of it. It is this focus upon the spirit, the soul, the unseen, as more worthy of our regard than the incarnate, disposable fabric of material existence that allows for the abuse of our bodies and the violation of our environment. The separation of spirit from matter is a potent, iconic delusion within the psyche, one of the core deviations that leads to the neuropsychobiology, which initiates the deterioration of the physical body into death. The reconnection of the 13th Circuit addresses and resolves the reunification of spirit and matter, body and soul at the electromagnetic level at which the human hologram is generated. This unification code is dynamically evident in the geometry used as an alchemical component that communicates the tantric creation frequency. The phenomenally coded ceremony replicates the courtship of creation, a frequency model of the activating life directive transmitted from the source of the hologram, the heart of the cosmos, and the receptive, integrating pulse that emanates from the crystalline core of Earth, placing the individual unit of circuitry as the conjugal mediator of these two creation frequencies, resurrecting the body temple as the sacred enclosure for the sacred wedding, the unification of the mother of form and the father of consciousness. This, the second ceremony within the template model, activates the occipital terminus of the 13th circuit to reinstate its ability to deliver and decipher the source code. The function of the coccyx terminus is to integrate the code into the coordinates of the incarnate body presence, co-creating a stargate of consciousness in time and space. As the electric solar energies within the Platonic code transmits the iconic form of individualized sovereignty, the magnetic Gaia energies within the Archimedean code integrates this autonomous awareness into the primal field of conceptual existence. As the electric solar energies within the Platonic code transmits the heartbeat of the cosmos, the magnetic Gaia energies within the Archimedean code synthesizes this pulsation through the microcosmic field of awareness into the matrix of form. As the electric solar energies within the Platonic code activates awareness of the interconnected, interactive relationship with Source, the magnetic Gaia energies within the Archimedean code seals this emanation into the crystalline matrix of the human Earth hologram. Between form and spirit, matter and consciousness, the geometric blueprint that lies at the heart of the human masterpiece is resurrected. The spoken code of the 13th circuit redefines the quintessential human identity, not as an earth orphan lost in time, but as a transcendental galactic human, affirming its symbiotic evolutionary relationship to Earth, the solar system, and the entire universal holography. Until recently, in the realm of those involved with sacred geometry, Platonic forms have been favored, and there has been little awareness and appreciation for Archimedean geometry. This reflects the domination of the patriarchal age in which the subjugation of the feminine has been maintained. As form is the shape of consciousness, the exclusion of various fractals of the geometric holography of the source code is intrinsic to the modification of the paradigm. These excluded fractals are aspects of source intelligence that would otherwise manifest the matrix of a holistic realm. The absolute assertion of the supreme Godhead as male has further entrenched the iconic gender prejudice that has subjugated the feminine aspect of the Maha-Gaia Tantra of creation, a prime manipulation that has resulted in the systemic failure of the deep ecology that has resulted from the rape of Earth. The collaborative dynamic between the occipital and coccyx points of the 13th circuit mirrors the tantric interplay of the Platonic and Archimedean geometry, the two harmonic potencies of creation. Platonic geometry is male, electric, and activating. Archimedean geometry is feminine, magnetic, and integrating. The electric seed transmission of the information that is light remains non-manifest until it unifies with a magnetic resonant field. The tantric interference patterns between the electric and magnetic, between the solar and Gaia potencies of creation, forms the womb from which all cosmological transmissions are birthed into time and space. Reconnecting the circuits that animate the complete human blueprint, returns your energy field to the embrace of the eternal continuum, resurrecting the potential for self-rejuvenation that is the natural human state. We are an immortal race. The following is an alchemically coded ceremonial experience embedded in film as a visual, audible, interactive event, re-embracing your field of awareness into the holistic space-time continuum electromagnetically. Functioning upon the laws of resonant harmonics, these codes reconnect the energetic delivery system that downloads a holistic virus of source consciousness. This divine directive enters the human biocomputational field and initiates the collapse of programs that are reliant upon the synthetic mutant matrix, activating a disassociation from the predominant dualistic ideology of prejudice and separation, initiating an altered brain chemistry that informs us that unity is the superlative human state. Keep your eyes open. Allow the coded visuals to imprint your DNA. Allow the integrity of the sonic spoken code to resonate with the receptors in your cerebral cortex. Resound the spoken code within the spaces left for you to speak, to add your voice to the revolution, to evolution. When it has ended, it will begin. Seek a peaceful space, enjoy, integrate, transform, celebrate. Form is the shape of consciousness. As you focus on the sphere, use your breath to relax into deep inner communion with this form. The sphere is the most comprehensive form of consciousness. It is the form on which you live, the eye with which you see, the form that brings life, light, and warmth, the form that fills the heavens and transmits day and night the stellar radiance that animates your blueprint. It holds within its matrix the dawn of the universe. It is the primary seed of creation, the beginning and the end that begins and ends again and begins. Held in this form, and thus in your sun, are all the solar spheric representations of fire, water, air, earth, and ether, the alchemical components of the life impulse. As these forms are transmitted from the galactic core via the celestial mediation of your sun to travel the corridors of light, they interface with the Gaia spheric transmissions, spiraling up from the global field of awareness, creating a cascading geometric serenade of creation codes, penetrating the biosphere of Earth. Welcoming these attentions, Earth's archetypal patterning translates this light geometry into the principles of matter, expressing spirit's subtle impulses as life forms that walk, fly, and swim, clothed in fur, feather, and skin, trees, flowers, and shimmering wings. Manifest creation is Earth's response to the creative directive endlessly pulsating from the heart of the galaxy. Earth transmits in turn the Gaia-spheric codes that unite, embrace, and conceive the light-life impulse into form. Together these potencies integrate, synthesize, and crystallize the countless diversities of life forms that function as the sensitive instruments of prime creation. We as humans are the living mandala of the creation impulse. Encoded within that mandala is the geometric matrix that is in complete resonance with the heart of the cosmos, Earth, and the continuum of life everlasting. The ultimate impulse of that continuum is love. As we enter into the geometric tantric courtship between the male and female potencies of creation, open to this language of light you see before you, entering into conscious communion, you resurrect the resonance between your original etheric blueprint and the benevolent, gracious, omnipotent source of your creation. With each sacred breath, I activate my pyrosphere. As I honor my sovereignty and my connection, to the reservoir of pleasure and causal desire, With each sacred breath, I integrate my iconic pyrosphere. As I awaken my sensory awareness, to the primal field of conceptual existence, With each sacred breath, I activate my tantric star. As the mother of form rises, to meet the Father of Consciousness, I synthesize the male and female potencies, becoming the sacred enclosure for the sacred marriage, that gives birth to the Trinity. With each sacred breath, I activate my terra sphere. As I synchronize my heartbeat with the pulse of Earth, and honor Earth as a sentient being. each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I integrate my iconic terra sphere. I integrate my iconic terra sphere. As I awaken my awareness, as I awaken my awareness of the magnitude of the life impulse, of the magnitude of the life impulse, emanating endlessly from the galactic core, from the galactic core, embracing its directive, embracing its directive. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I synthesize my embryonic terra sphere. I synthesize my embryonic terra sphere as I translate within my microcosmic field of awareness, as I translate within my microcosmic field of awareness, the matrix of form, the matrix of form. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I activate my pranosphere. I activate my pranosphere as I honor each breath as a bridge to consciousness. As I honor each breath as a bridge to consciousness, linking me into the wheel of eternal existence. Linking me into the wheel of eternal existence. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I integrate my iconic pranosphere. I integrate my iconic pranosphere as I awaken my sentient self. As I awaken my sentient self and approach the gateway of life eternal. And approach the gateway of life eternal. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I activate my terra pranosphere. I activate my terra pranosphere as I honor the earth as the pinnacle, as I honor the earth as the pinnacle of the manifestation of spirit, of the manifestation of spirit. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I integrate my iconic terra pranosphere. I integrate my iconic terra pranosphere as I awaken my sensory self, as I awaken my sensory self to the polarized expression, to the polarized expression of the benevolence of creation, of the benevolence of creation. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I synthesize my embryonic terra pranosphere. I synthesize my embryonic terra pranosphere as I enter the fulcrum point of manifest creation, as I enter the fulcrum point of manifest creation within the unified field, within the unified field. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I crystallize my Gaia Terra Pranosphere. I crystallize my Gaia Terra Pranosphere as I embrace the Trinity, as I embrace the Trinity, and embody the divine androgyny, and embody the divine androgyny. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I activate my aquasphere, I activate my aquasphere, as I partake the tree of knowledge, as I partake the tree of knowledge, returning the primal resonant integrity, returning the primal resonant integrity of my celestial seeding, of my celestial seeding. I honor my soul's lineage. I honor my soul's lineage. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I integrate my iconic aquasphere. I integrate my iconic aquasphere as I awaken within my blood, as I awaken within my blood, the knowledge of celestial impregnation, the knowledge of celestial impregnation, emancipating my procreative ability, emancipating my procreative ability as it comes into resonance, as it comes into resonance with the innocence of my original identity, with the innocence of my original identity. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I activate my solar sphere. I activate my solar sphere as I partake of the tree of life, as I partake of the tree of life, and honor the love at the heart of the cosmos, and honor the love at the heart of the cosmos as the continuum of life, as the continuum of life. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I integrate my iconic solar sphere. I integrate my iconic solar sphere as I awaken my dormant genetic blueprint, as I awaken my dormant genetic blueprint to the directive of life eternal, to the directive of life eternal, transmitted from the mind of light beyond the sun, transmitted from the mind of light beyond the sun. I sense endlessness. I sense endlessness. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I synthesize my embryonic solar sphere. I synthesize my embryonic solar sphere as I translate the language of light, as I translate the language of light, becoming a conduit of love, becoming a conduit of love, between my mother planet and her star consort, between my mother planet and her star consort. As their conjugal mediator, as their conjugal mediator, I invite this tantric communion, I invite this tantric communion to imbue my physical matrix, to imbue my physical matrix. I know eternity. I know eternity. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I activate my aqua solar sphere. I activate my aqua solar sphere as I honor my connectedness to the source of all creation, as I honor my connectedness to the source of all creation. With each sacred breath, I integrate my iconic aqua solar sphere. I integrate my iconic aqua solar sphere as I awaken my blood, as I awaken my blood to galactic consciousness, to galactic consciousness. Translated by Earth's stellar consort, the Sun. Translated by Earth's stellar consort, the Sun. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I synthesize my embryonic aqua solar sphere. I synthesize my embryonic aqua solar sphere as I create within my sacrum the chalice of life eternal. As I create within my sacrum the chalice of life eternal. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I crystallize my Gaia aqua solar sphere. I crystallize my Gaia aqua solar sphere as I embody a sovereign sentient instrument, as I embody a sovereign sentient instrument for the benevolence of creation, for the benevolence of creation. To function as a conscious conduit of light, to function as a conscious conduit of light, I seal within the crystalline matrix of my human self, I seal within the crystalline matrix of my human self, and my Mother Earth, and my Mother Earth, life eternal, life eternal. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I activate my Maha sphere. I activate my Maha sphere as I honor the Sun as the mediator, as I honor the Sun as the mediator between myself and galactic consciousness, between myself and galactic consciousness. With each sacred breath, with each sacred breath, I integrate, synthesize, synthesize, and crystallize, my Gaia sphere, as I honor the wedding of spirit and matter, as I honor the wedding of spirit and matter, and perceive symmetry and asymmetry, and perceive symmetry and asymmetry, existing in perfect harmony, existing in perfect harmony. I honor and acknowledge, I honor and acknowledge my physical being as the pinnacle of manifestation, as the pinnacle of manifestation of my spiritual identity, of my spiritual identity. This I do for myself, this I do for myself, and for all humanity.